Alright, so let's have a look at a sample task of speaking number 4. You're going to see a text and read it during 45 seconds and of course take notes. Then you're going to listen to the lecture on the same topic and of course take notes as well. After you do these two things, we're going to discuss your notes. You're going to see my notes, compare them with yours, and then after that I will show you a sample response. Let's do it.
Please listen carefully. In this question, you will read a short passage on an academic subject and then listen to part of a lecture on the same topic. You will then answer a question using information from both the reading passage and the lecture. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Read the passage about misconceptions in mathematics. You have 45 seconds to read the passage. Begin reading now. Now listen to part of a lecture on this topic in a math education class.
Misconceptions about simple notions in arithmetic are not readily given up. So, for example, a child who believes that 1/4 is larger than 1/2 will not let go of this misconception when he or she gets back an assignment full of red correction marks. The child will let go of this misconception when he or she fully understands fractions. So, how do we develop this understanding? I think this situation is partly caused by the practice in many schools of teaching mathematics by rote. In other words, children are taught to memorize a formula, to practice using that formula, and then go on to the next one. Children start to believe that math is boring and work through problems without understanding the nature of the concepts. So what happens is that kids can work a problem only if they remember the formula. Using the rote method of teaching doesn't take into account the child's pre-knowledge or informal knowledge of mathematics. Even a small child can tell the difference between a whole cookie and a half a cookie. So using this informal knowledge is a very important part of helping children learn fractions, or other math concepts for that matter. Teachers tend to forget they must put these concepts into daily situations that children can relate to. Using real objects, children can come up with the formula themselves. And having done that, the children learn and understand the formulas better. It's also true that teachers too often assume that children understand the mathematical symbols being used. For example, the symbol for percentages. Unfortunately, too often that is an incorrect assumption.
The professor describes the mistakes that are made in teaching children mathematics. Explain how these mistakes relate to the problems that children have in understanding fractions. You may begin to prepare your response after the beep.
Alright, how did it go for you? Let's have a look at the notes that I took and compare them to your notes. So these are the notes that I took from the reading passage. I wrote down that children have difficulties with fractions. I wrote that 50% more than 25%, but 1/2 is less than 1/4 because 4 is more than 2. Okay, this is according to the children. Of course, that's not true. So, and also I wrote that 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1/4 according to the children, which is also wrong. So from the listening passage, I wrote down that there are misconceptions that are hard to solve. Assignment full of corrections doesn't help. Child needs to fully understand fractions, how to develop. Common practice to teach math by memorizing and practicing formulas. Child, math is boring. Don't understand the nature of concepts. Need to use child's knowledge. Whole or half cookie. Very important, put concepts in daily situations. Then children can come up with formula themselves. math symbols misconception, %. So of course this is not grammatically correct in any way. These are just little notes. And these are the actual notes which I took with my pen and piece of paper while I was listening to this passage. I just typed them later so that you can see them. So these are the real notes, the actual notes which I took, and you can compare them with your notes. They don't have to be the same. It's all very personal, but you can see these notes as a sample. So now, when we are having this 30 seconds to prepare our response, let's say that we have these notes after we read and listened to these passages, what are we doing? We're going to look at the notes and try to make them a little bit better, a little bit more understandable and easy to read. So I'm looking at my notes and I'm starting to think, okay, what can help me to read these notes better while I'm speaking? So I'm going to write down teachers because this is not really clear here. So while I'm speaking, I might be a little bit confused and then I might lose time. So I'm going to write myself teachers here. So teachers need to use child's knowledge. Okay. Now I'm also going to write kids can relate so that I have a better sentence. Very important. Put concepts in daily situations that kids can relate to. So I'm going to write these 3 words here so that it's easier for me to read them later. So this is what I'm going to write and add to my notes. And so now I have this in front of me. I have the reading and the listening notes, all of them here. And I also have the cliches, which I memorized before I went to my exam. The reading passage discusses, the lecture says. So this is what I have before I start speaking. It's actually a lot of material. So I already know how to start my paragraphs, how to start my sentences, and I have all the information that I need to tell. I'm just going to read it and I'm going to do it grammatically correct during my speaking so that it looks okay, so that it sounds like I'm speaking. So you see that if you take as many notes as you can, and if your notes are big, quite big, then you have no problem doing the speaking number 4 and summarizing what you read and listened to. So I'm going to show you a sample response. It's a recording which I made without any scripts, without any memorizing. Just after I read, I listened, I prepared for some time, and then I started to speak. So it's going to be very natural, just like I would do it if I'm on the exam, and you can have a look at what is the sample response, what is a good response, and maybe you can relate to it while you're preparing your own response. So let's have a look. According to the reading passage, children have difficulties with fractions. They understand that 50% is more than 25%, however, they think that 1/2 is less than 1/4 because 4 is more than 2. They also think that 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1/4. So the lecturer says that misconceptions such as this are hard to solve because if we give a child an assignment full of corrections, it doesn't help. Children need to fully understand fractions, so how do we develop this kind of understanding? It is a common practice to teach math by memorizing and practicing formulas. So the child starts to think that math is boring because he doesn't understand the nature of concepts. Teachers need to use children's knowledge. For example, any child can understand the difference between whole cookie and half cookie. So it is important to put concepts in daily situations that children can relate to. Then children can come up with formulas themselves. It is also a common misconception among teachers that children understand math symbols such as a % symbol, which is not true. Alright, so that was a sample response from me, and you saw that during the 60 seconds I was constantly looking at the watch, and then I saw that there are not too many seconds left, so I had to speed up. This is what you have to do as well. So you should always look at the watch, look at those seconds, and that if you see that there's not too much material left, but there are a lot of time left, then you can slow down. And vice versa, if you see that there are too little time left and you have a lot of material left to cover, then you need to speed up. You need to say things faster. So it's all right to speed up or to slow down, it's fine, but always have a look at the watch and always try to figure out, okay, do you have enough time to finish? Do you have to speed up? Do you have to slow down? So you constantly should look at the watch, because if the time is over, they stop recording you. And if you have a lot of material left unsaid, it's bad for your score. And vice versa, if you finish everything and there's still time left and you just spend this time in silence, it's also bad for your score. So you need to always adjust your material to the time which is left. So the only thing to learn how to do it is, of course, practice. So try to do it yourself, have a timer on your phone, record yourself, try to do this exercise with yourself, see how it goes. It might not be perfect from the very first time, it's fine. It always takes practice. I practiced a lot of different speaking before I started to teach this course and before I recorded this speaking for you. So of course it's not going to be perfect from your first try, so just try, just practice, and then it's going to become better and better. So I suggest you to try to do this exercise now, and also on the next video we're going to have another exercise for you to practice. So go ahead, try this exercise, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.